Welcome to The Connection Code, a podcast where we explore the relationships that make your life and work just a little bit better.
Hi, I'm Rachel Gilman-Rischel. I'm the founder of 3PR. I represent food brands because eating is central to my life. However, I am also obsessed with connection and bringing people together, which is why I love this podcast with Jeana.
And I'm Jeana Anderson-Cohen. I've spent this week, 13 years at a business that's built around helping adults make friends through fitness. I'm also building Petite Acres, a social event space in New Buffalo, Michigan with my husband. And I love making friends. That's why I'm here with Rachel week after week. And we're going to start every episode with a big question. I brought it today. Rachel, are you ready for my question?
Very much so.
Okay. I think you and I talk about this offline, like IRL, a lot. But I also think it's very present in our lives. And what I want to talk about is showing up for people who are going through something. So Rachel, how do you show up for people who are going through a hard time, and how do you ask for help?
I think this is a really weighty and wonderful question. And I want to share something and also tell a story, a little bit of a vulnerable story. So when people are going through something, I usually default to food. I just feel like it's a universal love language. So I try to send a DoorDash order or drop something off or just take the stress of having to plan a meal off somebody's plate. So a lot of DoorDash orders and gift cards have been sent to people who are going through something. I also like to check in, and I've tweaked the way I do it. I used to ask questions. How are you? How are you feeling today? What's going on? What's the latest? And I realized that could be a little bit of a burden. So instead, I try to say, I'm thinking of you and just wanted to reach out. Or please know you're on my mind and I'm here to talk if you feel like it. So it's letting somebody know that they matter to me and they're top of mind, but I also don't want them to feel any obligation to reach out if they're not in that headspace. So it's, what is that term in social media, pebbling, where you send people things but you don't expect a reply, but it's a little bit of like a love nudge? Mm-hmm. I'm pebbling. I love probably using this term wrong.
No, penguins, you're absolutely using it right. Penguins pebble. It's perfect.
Yes. And then when I was thinking about what it looks like when somebody shows up, I thought of this situation that happened to me. So 8+ years ago, I had a really difficult exit from my last job. And I was very unsure of what I should do next professionally. To set the scene, I had a new mortgage, I had twins in daycare, and I had my husband working on commission. It was a peak stress moment financially. And for years, I had been the steady salary, and I'd also carried our health insurance. So being suddenly without employment was very unsettling, and I was at peak anxiety. So I very quickly reached out to my network, and I just wanted to talk to people that had been successful, that might offer some wisdom and perspective. And the desperation I felt meant that I really wanted people to say yes to me immediately. So I'm going to give credit to one particular person who, as a connection, did more than he probably ever realized. So I sent a note to Rob Katz, who's the co-founder of the Boca Restaurant Group, who's a very busy person and has a lot on his plate. And we had known each other, and I sent this text, and to his credit, right away, we made coffee plans. And he sits down with me in Lincoln Park. And what I valued about this conversation was not that he spoke in generalities. He didn't just say, oh, Rachel, you're going to be fine, or give it some time, or it will work itself out. What he did was get in the weeds with me and say, think about how much money you need every month to break even. And then if you want to work for yourself, what could you charge those clients, and how many clients would you need in order to hit that number? And who do I know that could be a potential client for you? And that level of specificity and that willingness to really go into the detail with me was exactly what I needed. I needed practical solutions. I needed somebody to help me think through the financial implications of being a full-time freelancer, of working for myself. And this one conversation carried me so far, and I've tried over the years to just let Rob know that it really did mean a lot to me. And while it was a finite amount of time for him, it has been infinitely helpful for me. And I just had my company's 8th anniversary. I have loved thank you. I have loved working for myself. It has been the most lucrative chapter of my professional life, the most fulfilling chapter. But I will never forget Rob and I talking about like back of the envelope math of how much is daycare, how much is the mortgage, what are the things you have to pay for every month, and could you take on clients that could get you there? So I think that showing up can be subjective, and some people want hugs and warm sentiments. Some people want, practical advice. Everybody's going to be a little different, but I am forever grateful that when I needed connection and when I needed support, Rob was able to step in, give me some time, give me some perspective, and just honestly that little bit of a boost that I needed to go forward.
And what I love about, Rachel, you've talked about the side of this where someone gave you the encouragement, like your dance card will be full in no
Lisa,
time.
yes.
Yeah. And what's interesting about Rob, so we have Lisa who gave you the encouragement you needed to take the first step. Rob came in and actually helped you model it out. Like, what will it take to fill my dance card? And I love that you had both sides of that coin.
You have such a good memory. Thank you for recalling my stories, because you're right. Like, in the equation of what do I need to feel good as I go forward into a next chapter that feels a little scary and uncertain, sometimes you need somebody who gives you that great belief statement, like your dance card is going to be full before you know it. You've got this. And then sometimes you need somebody to say, how many dollars do you need coming in so that you feel okay? And all of these different people in your community and network can play a valuable role. But now, okay, I'm going to flip it to you. Talk to me about what it feels like to be supported through connection in hard times. And I know you're so good at this because you are like an incredibly amazing person, but how you show up and connect with people who are going through a moment of life turbulence.
So I think how I show up and how I ask for help is a little different, but I think how I show up has been shaped by how I ask for help. So I've started providing people with specific things I'm good at.
I like this.
So when I have friends who are going through something, I will offer to connect them to someone who can help, or I give them like opportunities to choose my time for jobs. So I'll say like, I can cook for you. I'm good at X, Y, and Z. I can drive you to appointments. These are the times I'm free. And the reason why I started giving people specific things I can do is because I had a very scary thing happen to me sort of suddenly and out of the blue in the middle of the pandemic. In 2020, I had my appendix out, which is like no big deal, very routine. But then 4 days later, my colon twisted. I had a bowel obstruction, which is very painful, but I did not know what was going on, and doctors couldn't get a clear picture until they actually did surgery. So I went into surgery in extreme pain, but just knowing like something will happen to fix this while I'm under. It will either be they can fix it laparoscopically, like just go in with the little instruments, like an appendectomy. I may end up with part of my colon taken out, or I might end up with a colostomy bag. So it was, no matter what happened, there'd be a small recovery, a big recovery, or a life change. And so I woke up with the medium situation where I had about 9 inches of my colon removed and about 3 inches of my small intestine. The large bowel is also the name for the small intestine. Wild. And we have a lot of those things, so it's fine. But I had I have a large vertical scar through my stomach now. I had staples in my stomach, which is very limiting for movement. And I have a dog. So all of this is to say that I came home to new eating restrictions, because when you're recovering from surgery in your bowel region, like you have to be really careful with it, go on a low fiber diet. And I came out with movement restrictions. So I couldn't walk my dog, who is reactive with other dogs. And I didn't want him, because my husband also had back surgeries recently, so he couldn't walk the dogs. So there was this very real need. Like, I didn't want my dog to go away from my recovery because I love him and he loves me and I feel like he will take care of me. And so I sort of put up in that situation, I was like, the thing I need, my mommy is coming and she will make food for me. And the thing I'm going to need ongoing is help walking my dog. So I put out this call to, like, people kept asking, what do you need? And I actually skipped a very important part of the story. Actually, as I'm thinking about this, the reason people were asking me, what do you need, is because I was in the hospital for 6 days during COVID. And on like day 3, I'm finally kind of starting to come to. I'm getting really sad because I felt very lonely because I could only have one visitor at a time. And I remember this nurse coming into my room and being like, hey, we see you walking, we see you trying, like, how are you doing? And I started weeping because I don't think I realized until that moment, like, how lonely I felt, how scared I felt, how much I knew my life was about to change because movement had really defined me. And so it was that night that I was like, I got to talk about this. Like, I have to tell people what I went through, or the reason I am lonely is because no one knows what's happening. And so I put up an Instagram post that was literally like me with a tube out of my nose, like walking with a walker in this, my tower where my IV was, just sort of saying, like, this just happened. I didn't know how I'd wake up. Like, this is the state I am in. And that's the reason why I got the outpouring of, like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? So I cut to asking for help. I created a schedule for walking me and walking my dog. And people showed up, like, people 3 times a day showed up to take me and my dog on a little walk through the neighborhood. And it was the most miraculous way that I still, like, I think about this every day. If you ever feel alone, like, I honestly, like, it changed my outlook. It brought me 3 doses of joy every single day.
Yeah, I can't even believe the bad luck timing of your husband Justin having surgery, you having surgery. Like, that in and of itself is just, during COVID, colossally difficult. But what I'm thinking about in response to this story is, when you are vulnerable and you tell people what you need, you're creating space for people to rush in and fill that need. Mm-hmm. And secondly, I think specificity is actually kind of a gift, because as we'll talk about in this interview, when someone's going through it and you say, what do you need? That person might be like, I don't even know exactly what I need. Or I don't want to burden you. I don't want you to feel like you have to do something. There's sort of this funny back and forth about how can one person do something for somebody else and nobody has to feel any guilt. So if you say, please help me walk myself and walk my dog, people know exactly how they can be a good friend. And then you got to benefit from all of this generosity of spirit.
It was honestly, I still can't believe it happened. Like, I look back and I'm like, I still can't believe it happened. I honestly should look up that spreadsheet. And
so we would
reach
make
out
a spreadsheet.
Yeah, of course it was a spreadsheet. Of course it was a spreadsheet, Rachel. I should look up that spreadsheet and reach out to all of those people and thank them again too, because they did. It was like Matt Matros from Matt Matros reached out and was like, what can I do? And I was like, walk me. And he was like, excuse me. But just like people having a way to show up was really wonderful. And I still am very grateful to this day.
I love that. I do. And I think people want to be helpful. You want to feel of need and use to somebody who's going through it. And when you're given a task that you can accomplish, everybody walks away feeling a little bit better for it.
Yeah. And so on this episode, we talked to Sarrah Bentley. We met her today, and she is, I think, now going to be our lifelong friend.
Yeah, we're keeping her.
Yeah, we're going to keep Sarrah. She shares sort of the highs, the lows, the joy that she's mined, and that's hers, not mine, but the joy that she's mined from these incredibly hard moments of breast cancer, of going through surrogacy. And I think she just has some really great wisdom to share. And here we are with Sarrah. Today we are here with our very special guest, Sarrah Bentley, and I love to let a woman give us her own accolades. So Sarrah, can you tell us all the wonderful things you've done?
Oh my gosh, I'm 43 years old. I'm getting better at this accolade thing, so I will. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarrah Bentley. I am a former Broadway showgirl. I performed in 7 shows on Broadway. I am a 20-year New Yorker. I launched 2 yoga brands that were very successful in the Hamptons and in the city. And then I am a breast cancer survivor of almost 5 years now. I am a mom, yay! I am a mom of a miracle little dude named Chance through surrogacy. I am the founder of A Chance for Life, which is a nonprofit that pays completely for surrogacy journeys for breast cancer survivors. And I'm an advocate and a motivational speaker, and I'm thrilled to be here with you guys today.
Oh, we are so happy to have you, Sarrah. And I was texting with Rachel yesterday because we were really excited to chat with you and to get to know you. I was texting with Rachel yesterday. I was like, I think we're going to cry.
Oh, I already teared up watching your USA Today video. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just jump into the big questions. You, as a survivor of breast cancer, a 5-year survivor of breast cancer, thank goodness you went through some, like, dare I say, challenges. And so a big topic we're talking about on the show is showing up for people. So I'd love to know who you asked for help and who showed up for you without having to be asked.
Yeah. I mean, cancer is the great, like, I don't want to say equalizer, but it shows you who your people are. And a lot of times, like, they're not who you really thought they were going to be, correct? And the way that I've gone through life, but especially in New York City, because New York City is such a wild place to live, is connections, is community, and we, before you guys are listening to this podcast now, Rachel and Jeana and I, we were talking about, like, we already know the same people. She's like, wait, I was just with her, for lunch. So with my cancer diagnosis and my cancer journey, the people that were there for me, I had just started dating my now husband. Okay. I was only dating him for 9 months, but we fell in love. We quarantined together, but we were dating. And I got a breast cancer diagnosis, and he had a choice. He was like, I can, like, go in with this woman or I'm out, which would be a very New Yorkie kind of guy thing to do, is ghost. And he went all in. And not only did he go all in, he proposed to me while I was bald during chemo. So I think that is the biggest example of truly, without asking, being there, guiding me through my darkest, hardest times. I always say when I was, like, puffy and farting during chemo, which was not attractive, he was like, you're beautiful. So that was incredible. I have the most amazing family. We are thick as thieves. My parents moved in with us during chemo, and we cooked every night and we danced, and there was joy. And, my best friend lives in LA, but because it was COVID when I went through breast cancer, I couldn't have her with me during chemo. So we would FaceTime and we would have chemo hip hop happy hour where we would just, like, FaceTime and do hip hop while I was getting my chemo. So, the people that your inner circle were very much there. But the most pivotal person that I never thought would be this important piece of the puzzle was a private client of mine who was a billionaire, and I couldn't get a test. I couldn't get an ultrasound because it was COVID, and they told me I could get an ultrasound in 3 months. And she made one phone call, and she was there because she said, "Why, you look a little stressed." I said, "I found a lump in my breast. I can't get a test." And she's like, "Stop." "Oh yeah, she'll be there in an hour. She's going to drive from the Hamptons and go to the city," and got me on the table, literally. And there's so much we can say about that in medical care, but for me in that moment, she was there without asking, and she was the one that prevented me from, they said my cancer was so aggressive that it would have been stage 4 by the time I got my ultrasound in 3 months. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
Thank goodness.
I know.
Honestly, hearing that, Rachel and I are, like, gripping her chest. Like, it made me feel stressed for you because I just can't imagine going through that sort of gray period of not knowing, but knowing something's wrong, but not knowing for sure what it was. And thank goodness for this person. Is she still in your life?
She is not. But I always give her, yes, a season. I give her blessings. Exactly. So, but she will always, I would be always so very much grateful for her.
Yeah. And I'd love to know kind of as you were going through treatment and as you mentioned the COVID of it all, were you sort of like putting out a beacon and saying like, I need help with X, or were folks showing up for you without having to ask?
I put out a very big beacon, which was like chronicled this whole thing on my Instagram. And I started to make a video before I was even diagnosed on the way into the biopsy. And the video was like so hopeful. And I was like, guys, this could probably be just like a little annoying thing they're going to take out. And then, I didn't realize that an hour later I'd walk out of this office with a cancer diagnosis, because they told me before they even did the biopsy, they knew what it was from the ultrasound. So like I put a big beacon out. I was like, I have cancer, world. And then here's how we're going to do cancer. So the online community, when you do that, of women, and we say worst club, best members, okay? You don't realize how many of us there are, which is heartbreaking, but also like they're there. They're like, what do you need? I had care packages there were 2 girls I went to college with that were breast cancer survivors. Sent me, I hadn't spoken with them. Girls I was in shows with, sent me mugs. I mean, it's unbelievable. People were like, give me your address. What can I do? And I'm not the best historically at accepting help. I am like a do-it-yourself girl. I am scrappy. I am from Pittsburgh. But I learned through this experience that like you let people help you when they want to help you, because they also want to feel like they can do something for you because they love you, So there was I never had to ask for anything. It was an embarrassment of riches. And I think probably it's due to, I like to think I put really good things into the universe in my life. And I am a person that reaches out to people to help. I am that person. I want to jump in. And so having it come back to me was it was very moving and very beautiful. And I think it was what got me through.
Jeana, I'm already breaking our protocol. I was like, Jeana's going to lead and I'm going to jump in later.
We need extra questions.
So, Sarrah, I want to keep going with that for a second, because I feel like, and I said this to Jeana recently, we're in this kind of tough season of life in our 40s where a lot of people are unexpectedly encountering challenges. Parents are getting sick. Our actual friends are getting sick. I just feel like I cannot check in with anybody or log into social media without seeing somebody facing a really devastating life moment. And what I struggle with is how to show up for somebody in a way that's not invasive and doesn't put the onus on them, but is also genuinely helpful. Mm-hmm. And since you are so eloquent and you have been through this and you seem to have wonderful perspective, I'm curious what it looks like for people in your orbit to do it right. Like, how can they connect with you? How can they connect with somebody who's going through a shitty time and be of value without stepping on toes?
No,
Guide us.
Yeah, there's 2 things I want to say about this, and I have to think of the phrase. So one of my dear friends, who also happens to be a breast cancer survivor, I'm going to say this a lot, and this is just going to paint the picture for you of how prevalent, this is right now, and it's getting more and more, and we can't figure out why. She calls it like notes for other people, or you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you the first thing while I look at because she just sent a Substack out, because you guys need to know this because it's amazing. Okay. It's called like rearview mirror. Let me think about it. But anyway, the first thing is, if you want to help someone without stepping on toes, just say like, how are you? One question. And then what do you need? Right? It's just, how are you and what do you need? And this is going to lead me to what I wanted to say about Laura's. She talks about, it's like rear view mirror or something. Basically, here's the premise. I'll tell you I'll find the phrase another time. It's that do not give other people, you have these privileges, and you have an inner circle of friends who are allowed to tell you advice and their experiences. But if you're not in that inner circle where we already know that, well, when I did this or that, like, okay, great. then just, again, how are you? What do you need? Like, and be an ear to listen, and let them, if they need to rant and vent, they can. I feel like that's the best way to be there and show up, without kind of being, the stepping on toes happens when you're like, well, when I went through it.
I always default to food. Can I send you a DoorDash delivery? Can I drop something off? And you're nodding like, yeah, food's good. That's my love language.
Oh yeah, those are concrete things. Like, because when you have a double
Yeah.
mastectomy, you can't move your arms, so you like definitely can't chop or cook or like get the plates down. And so yeah, like food, door dashing, amazing. I had a private client send us dinner like the night I got home from the hospital. All things like that are so welcome too.
And it's movement is such a big part of your life and your story, Sarah. And so I'm curious, like, as you have been recovering and moving through this, like, how has movement and yoga and dance played into your recovery, or how has it changed how you look at movement?
Yeah. It's going to be a long-winded one, y'all, so strap on.
We love it.
So I've been strap in. Or you can strap on too, but that,
You can
you
strap
may want
on,
to turn
that's
your
fine.
camera off. Okay.
Whatever.
So I am a human that lives in my body. Obviously, I'm talking with my hands. If you're listening, you can't see that, but I'm talking with my hands right now. So I find that because I was a dancer my whole life, when you're on Broadway, people knock musicals. They say they're corny, right? Why are people singing and dancing? Why this is like so silly? All of a sudden they're like da 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 da. Well, it's because when emotions get so big on stage, where words don't work anymore, you sing, okay? And then when the singing, it no longer can convey the breadth of feeling that you have, you burst into dance. And it goes through your whole body, right? That's why musicals were created. That is the function of how these things work. So when I hit breast cancer, I'd already been practicing yoga 20 years, dancing my whole life. I made sure, because my body was changing every single day. I had my double mastectomy. I went through 8 rounds of chemo, 28 rounds of radiation. I had 2 reconstructive surgeries. I had my ovaries out. My hair fell out. You name it, every single day was a new day. So I made sure I showed up in my body. I went up. I'm in a house in East Hampton right now, and we have 3 levels. And the top level is just this tiny little perch of a yoga studio with 360 windows. Mm-hmm. And I go up there because we came to the house after treatment in the city while I was in chemo, or through the whole journey. I would go up to this 3rd floor yoga studio, and I would only in my underwear, okay, or like my drains. I had to have a bra on, but most of the time only my underwear, and I would do what looked like the yoga practice that day, and every day it looked different because every day I was different. Some days I would roll on the ground and cry. Some days I would be like standing on my head, like screw you, cancer, and so because it's very easy when you get sick to turn on your body and to not want to look at it and to divorce your brain from the body that is doing this to you, and to divorce your eyes to not look at this. Because there were moments where, yeah, of course I looked like bruised and mangled, and instead of running away, I ran towards, and I dropped into my body, and I found that mentally and emotionally, that's what got me through. Plus, there's oodles of research saying that if you are physical during treatment, that you have much better success rates, less chance of recurrence. The treatment works better. So I am a human that communicates through movement. So I was able to communicate to my heart and my brain through my own movement through that. So
I love that. And
yeah.
you sound so enlightened and have like such a beautiful way of framing this experience.
Thank you.
What do you know about yourself today that you didn't know before this?
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Let's go deep.
No, please, guys, y'all, let's get into it. This is the important stuff. You can Google breast cancer and get all. You don't need me for that. What did I learn about myself through this? I always knew I was resilient. Broadway shows close, you go in and they're like, hey, you don't have a job next week. You're like, oh man, what am I going to do? You figure out a way. I go dance in Atlantic City. I sprayed perfume at the Macy's. But so I knew I had that going for me. I learned how to slow down. And I fought that too, trust me, because my pace is quite fast. I learned how to slow down and to soften and to understand that rest is paramount at times. I learned that it's okay to like not jump out of bed in the morning because I couldn't, and now my husband knows, like we have a toddler, y'all. He's going to be 18 months next week. He's so cute. He wakes up. My husband knows I need like a proper hour to have my coffee in bed. Like that's just how it is. Like I've learned to like ask for the things that I know now I need. But yeah, I learned that about myself, how to slow, how to ground down. I just learned if I can get through this, y'all, I can get through anything. And that, so now hardships that come, and they came after breast cancer treatment, the hardest thing I went through was not that, if you can believe it or not. It was the journey to my child. Right? And we can talk about that, and I'll tell the story, but I had to use a surrogate because my breast cancer treatment rendered me unable to carry because I'm on treatment for 10 years. And my chemo rendered me infertile, but luckily before I started chemo, I froze one embryo. One. We did 2 rounds of IVF, right? My doctor was like, this is not going to change it's not going to change anything. It's not going to change your chances of being cancer-free. There's ways to do this safely. You want a baby. Let's make this happen. Thank God for her. She's my angel. One embryo. So to face that of having one chance, his name is Chance, you guys, spoiler alert. The child's name is Chance.
I know.
His name is Chance. To have one chance and wait 3 years of treatment and preparation and finding the perfect woman to carry our son, and then knowing that you're creeping up on this day where it's an embryo transfer, and this day is either going to be, you're going to get information in 2 weeks after the embryo transfer, if it goes successfully, there's all these steps, that it's either going to be the best day of your life, or you're going to have to mourn something that will be harder than anything that you've touched. Lose the boobs, lose the ovaries, lose everything. If I lost him, I don't know. So that process, did that give me the belief I have in prayer now, the belief I have in, the belief I have in belief, is beyond. No, I'm crying. I'm going to cry. Yeah. It's stupid. It's like, I know this story. I know how it ends. But
I'm crying with you. I feel this acutely.
Yeah, that changed me, that experience. And, again, spoiler alert, he is downstairs, as I said. So going through that fear and then how to keep the fear at bay and how to just have firm, just blind belief. It was something that really changed me as a person. So now, like, things happen. I'm like, whatever. My kid, we went to an event on Tuesday or Wednesday, and it was for these smoothie melts called Amara. They're great. He loves them. He had a whole bowl of them, dropped them all on the floor, and just started eating them off the ground. And I was like, 5-second rule, whatever. And everybody was horrified. And I'm like, guys, a smoothie on the ground ain't got nothing for a miracle birth. For 800,000 things needed to work for this kid to be here. He's fine.
I once when my daughter was a toddler, I caught her lick the bottom of her shoe. And she saw me. I go, what did you just do? It was Kayla.
One?
Yeah, okay. So I have twin daughters. They're now almost 11, but around your son's age, licked the bottom of her shoe. I caught her. I was fucking horrified. And she goes, that was an accident.
Wait, not a toddler said that was an accident.
Sorry, that's older than 18 months. But I wrote this down. I keep a list of every ridiculous thing they've done in my phone. So I have really good blackmail material as they get older. And this list is long. But I thought that was hysterical. And also, kids are clearly not germophobes and will put anything in their mouth. So I love your lens. And clearly he's okay.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. We live in New York City. I watched my girlfriend's son lick the side of an MTA machine. Literally. I was like, Jenny, he licked the entire side. And she was like, I don't know. He's feral. And I was like, so.
Kids are feral.
Take it as it comes. Right? Strong immunes.
Oh my gosh. Well, your journey to grow a family it's very inspiring. I watched the video that was created, the sense that your spirituality got stronger and whatever we want to call spirituality, your belief, like I was so inspired by it. And the fact that you and your husband were on sort of different spirituality journeys, but the same journey was really, really lovely. I guess my question is like, you're on the other side of going through something really, really hard, but getting out of it what you aimed to get. What does it feel like? How did that sort of change you? What did that bring into your life?
Oh, I mean, it sometimes feels like a fever dream, if I'm completely honest. I have to bring myself back to the moment at times. And because you get lost in the day to day, right? You're on the other side. If I walk down the street, no one's going to know I have breast cancer, right? No one's going to know what it took to get this crazy, screaming child, here, right? No one's going to know it. And then I go through my days and I forget sometimes. I don't see my scars when I look at my breasts in the mirror. I'm a naked woman. I'm always naked. So I and I'm not, when I look at them, I don't see a scar at all. And then these are like, oh, were these not the boobs I was always born with? Well, they're not, guys. They look very fake, but they're great. But yeah, we know that they were not the boobs I was born with. But yeah, and it just feels like normal life some days. And then when the days get hard and when I feel stressed and when I feel I can't do all this, I can't run my business and be a full-time mom and do all the things I'm doing in my nonprofit. And then I'm like, wait a minute, Sarah, like, look at this child's face, take a breath, and remember everything it took to be where you are right now, right? Every single moment, every tear, every success, every, celebration. And so I do that from time to time. I have a little check-in when I get overwhelmed. And so it's changed me in that way of not taking, and this sounds like the first page of a cancer book, but you don't take things for granted, right? Like, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm drinking too much wine this month. And like before, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But now I'm like, oh yeah, right. Wait, but you also are a cancer survivor, so you probably shouldn't have that much wine. It's just going, it's going backwards, and remembering, I think, is for me is the way that I'm moving forward through this, with still honoring that journey.
Jeana, do you mind if I go with the spirituality thing for a sec?
I don't mind for even a second.
Oh, great. One of my favorite topics. So, Sarrah, as I'm hearing all this and just feeling like so emotionally affected by your beautiful story, it feels like chance is the destination of a really hard and often horrible journey. But does it make you feel that everything happens for a reason, or is that not part of your belief system?
So funny. I always say 0 stars, would not recommend breast cancer. 0 stars, however major.
0 out of 10.
0 out of 10 would not recommend on Yelp. But as my child screams, this was a turning point in my life. I had successful yoga businesses. Again, I was falling in love with James. We were in a global pandemic. I was trying to figure out what the next step was for me out of the pandemic. Did I want to go back to, my Instagram was me in bikinis and Montauk with like some sort of wise quote, which was hilarious now looking at it. I thought I was like profound. And then this happened, this atomic bomb in my life. And Robin Roberts says, make your mess your message. And so I took this thing that happened to me and I realized that then this put me on the path to what my purpose was. So I do believe in that way, Rachel, that like the things happen for a reason, not getting cancer, but how I dealt with cancer, how I moved through cancer. It gave me, because the thing I get like really pissed off about, which if you're listening, please never say this to someone. And if you guys go by this, I think everybody should believe what they want. But like God doesn't give you what you can't handle. I was like, God should not, I am a good person. God did not need to give me the breast cancer. Really. God could have just been like, you're pregnant, that's fine. You guys do a pregnancy photo shoot, you know what I'm saying? So I think that I'm exactly where I need to be. And my story is my story. And if it does serve if there was a higher blueprint for me from when my soul chose my mom, because I do believe in all that. Yes. My kid chose me, Chance chose me, so I was like, he's coming. then yeah, things do happen for a reason, right? And that to me, if this is my journey, which it was, then I'm so fulfilled because I've helped so many women now believe what I have, like my story, that it can be okay and that you'll be alive and you'll have a family and you'll be joyful and you can be in love and you can feel good in your body again. Then yeah, I feel like that's pretty like, destined.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I grapple with a lot of these things, but I often think that if you value and appreciate your destination, you can't regret the whole journey because they are part and parcel. And I also think that when you are handed an incredibly shitty situation like you were, you can be despondent and wallow in it and completely entitled to do so. But what blows me away is people like you who take these awful situations that could really just unmoor and ruin someone's life. And you're like, oh, you know what I see in here? A purpose and a mission and a chapter 2. And I think that's why Jeana and I were so enamored with your stories. Like, it would have been more than acceptable to just be like, this fucking sucks and I'm over it and I just want to get healthy and move on with my life. But you're creating this advocacy and this activism around it and doing the most.
Thank you. And then this is what this you teed me up for my favorite thing to teach, which is I coined this term joy mining. Right? Because you were just talking about the road you were on. So I say this: if you were put on a shitty road, breast cancer, shitty road, root shit, not a great road. And so if you're put on this road, you got to get to the end of it, right? And in the journey, your life is still happening, right? And so you can walk down the road, like you said, despondent and then you're missing life that's happening while you're walking. Like you're missing whether it could be this like gorgeous sunny day or falling in love, getting engaged or all these things. This all still happening while you're on this shitty road. So if you do this and you put blinders on, you're missing it. So then if then years go by, because that's how long the treatment is and all this, then did you just waste 3 years of your life you fought for? Right? So it's like you mine the joy, you find it, it is there. And it is not toxic positivity. It's always there. Right? So it's like that's how I got through it. I was like, let me, have a piece of crumb cake in the morning during treatment. That made me happy. That was my joy that day. Everything to the big stuff.
Yeah. It's like a gratitude practice, but I like that you're calling it joy mining because it's sort of like sometimes you got to dig a little bit more, and in those trying times you really have to dig. I love joy mining. Thanks. I'm going to tattoo that on my heart, honestly.
It's the name of my book that I'm finishing my book proposal this weekend and thank you. Very excited.
I cannot wait to read.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm not going to ask you any of the when questions because you're finishing your proposal and it's going to come out and you'll tell us and we'll read it and we'll talk about it everywhere.
Yay. Thank you.
Okay, so before we pass to Rachel for a connection conversation, I just want to know how your online community has come into your life. Like you spoke a lot about isolating things like cancer, like surrogacy, et cetera, et cetera. Who has sort of shown up for you online? How has that community sort of played into your journey since cancer?
Yeah, a lot of days I disparage social media. I do. I was at an event where Sting did an acoustic set and explained before every song, 5 songs, every song, he was like, this is how I wrote the song. This is my life experience. And people were at my table. And we were all influencers, and half of us were just glued. And half of the people were like, I have to get my content in. I was like, you are missing life. No one needs your content right now. Right? So this has irked me lately. So I'm like, there's a way to do this online community and do social media without doing that. That was just, I had to give a PSA there because I'm like, are we influencing you to not live your life? Is that what we're doing? And just influencing you to be on your phone 24/7. So that's hard. But as much as I disparage the very thing I use it because it is connection. It is community and the power of these platforms. So when I got diagnosed, I went on Instagram immediately. And I went #breast cancer because I wanted to see someone that looked like me. I wanted to see a young woman. I wanted to see a young woman who looked healthy, a young woman who was living her life. And it was very hard to find, at that time, that was 2020, to find someone But I did eventually. I found the Breasties, and I found a couple different groups of women. Breasties is a nonprofit. It's a 501c3 started in community to, again, connect young women together who are going through this. And so the online, we all sort of find each other, right? So I was one of the first people, I think, and I was told this, to like really chronicle this thing, right? Really take my platform and do that. And through it, people found me because they also hashtag breast cancer when they got diagnosed. And I get a message every day of a woman saying, oh my gosh, I see that you are able to have this family and that you are healthy and you are happy and you are, living a great life. And I'm inspired that I'm going to get through this. And that means everything. And so this online community we have, like we're here for each other. We're here for advice. We're here just to, again, listen. And a lot of us have never met each other. Like, it's wild. And so it's very powerful, and I'm very grateful for it existing. And I'm grateful that it continues to. There's so many more women now telling their stories and now helping other women. And it's just it's a connection. It's a connection code. They were writing a code.
Well.
That was masterful.
Full circle. Right into the connection conversation.
There we are.
Thank you, Sarah. Excellent.
I tried.
And I perked up because my friend did PR for Breasties. I mean, the world is so small, and
That's
I
so
wish
funny.
breast cancer wasn't so prevalent, and I wish so many people we knew weren't affected. But you're right, like worst club, best people, and
It's their motto: Worst Club, best members. And I'm just so proud of all the women that are doing the same thing, like started things like that just to help other women while they're going through it themselves. So it's amazing.
Yes. Jeana, since I feel like I jumped into the interview so much, maybe we could share the connection conversation.
Don't worry, Rachel, but we can share everything. So you kick it off. I'll have things to add in.
Okay. So Sarah, clearly you got our memo. We're obsessed with connection. We love it. Can you think of the last connection you made or the last recent connection you were excited about? And what did that look like?
Connection of a human connection? A human connection?
It could be extraterrestrial. Like if,
no,
if you have something really unique to share.
A different plan.
A human?
Last connection. Okay, so I went on this writing retreat.
Ooh.
With the same friend who I was, the breast cancer survivor who has this, the privileges. It's like rear view mirror privileges, something like that. Anyway, I'll figure out. She has a much more clever name. And we went on she invited me on this 2-night, 3-day upstate writing retreat in upstate New York. And I lead retreats a lot, yoga retreats. I haven't done one in a while since the chance has come. It's been hard juggling. And retreats are great because you have people who most of which don't know each other, and the leader usually attracts, puts together the perfect alchemy of people around the table, we say, around her writing table or around my, my yoga studio. And it was just, man, I met some women up there that were inspiring AF. They were incredible. I mean, we connected. We were like, I love you, just immediately, and people showed up and they were vulnerable and there was no pretense and no one cared who was, or, that was really special. And I love those moments where you're like, I'm surrounded by magical people. How lucky am I? And we all want to help each other, and we all want to elevate each other, and we already have started to. And then as you go through that, and then your little concentric Olympic rings of who, and then we all know each other's friends, and of course you know her. And so it's that weekend was special, and I've taken some amazing. At 43, you're like, how can I have more friends? But then you're like, wait, there's so many more amazing humans I want to know, right? So it's like, I gladly welcome it. I'm like, bring them on. This is like just great, great people.
I had a friend once who was feeling maxed out at around our age, and she's like, you know what? I think I'm at no new friends. And I'm like, no, because you never know who you can meet who could play an outsized role in your life or really add some beautiful value. And no new friends is just barricading yourself from opportunities. So Jeana and I are newer friends. We're like a year and a half into our friend love
really?
affair.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And we met at a manifestation dinner, and then I went to Jeana's retreat that she was co-hosting. So I think retreats are magical spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much
Sarah,
so.
you had something to add.
Oh no, I was going to say the thing about like no new friends is too, is like, you do have room, because also if you've done that work where your people that you're attracting are also going to have similar boundaries where they're not expecting to hang out every day. Come on, we've got kids, we've got schedules, we've got careers, but and it's having new friends doesn't mean you have to be like give all the time in the world. It's just another you can see each other once a month, once every 2 months, and it's still like it's beautiful. So I think that people think it's such heavy lifting. I'm like, no, it's not. They're lifting you up.
Yes, well said.
Yeah.
And friends like add something to your life, whether they're a friend you see once a month or once a quarter. And I do think retreats give you all of the ingredients of a new friendship too. You're gathered in a place, you're talking about something deep, and you have like these shared values. Did you sort of take anybody to the next level after the retreat? Is there anyone who you're like, oh God, we're getting coffee or we've had lunch and we are really good friends now?
Well, I mean, it's been a month, and to be honest, the last month has been, I'm surprised I'm still here talking to you. It's been it's been an embarrassment of riches, and my nervous system and my adrenals need grand TLC in June. So that's what we're doing. But yes, there is a woman named Jenny Waxman who's incredible. Hey, girl, if you're listening, no, she is an entertainment attorney, and she just like has a child similar to Chance's age. She's larger than life. She's hilarious. She managed to make me like laugh till I peed talking about her divorce. Like, when someone is going through some really heavy life shit and they can still be like magnetic and incredible, then you're like, these are the people. She felt like a sister. So yeah, we were just texting. She is going to come to my side of Brooklyn. She's on the wrong side of Brooklyn. Just kidding. But she's going to come over to me, and then we're going to have a date with or without the kids, we said. So yes.
Amazing.
I love it. Okay, and Jeana and I are also in this stage of collecting connection advice. So if you could connect with your younger self, what advice would you offer when it comes to the connection space? Is there like a 20-year-old Sarrah or a younger version or iteration where you're like, know this, I wish you knew this?
Yes, perfection is boring. That's what I want to tell her. Do not stop trying to be perfect. Like I was trying to, like this wild curly head of hair I have, I was, it was an analogy for my life. Because listen, on Broadway, I'm almost 5'11". I played like the very elegant showgirls, and I thought I had to present myself as such all the time. And if you know me, you know that I'm a lunatic. I'm a maniac in a fun way. I'm like bigger than life, but there was a long time where I thought I had to be smaller. I had to be curated. I had to, and that was my worth. Then I would be cast. Then I would get the part, oh, hi. Okay, I'm going to have a child on my lap. Listeners,
yes.
You may hear some cooing.
Bring
This is
us
my
back.
Chance, welcome to the chat.
Okay, no, don't cry.
I know. Chance brought a buddy.
Okay, hold on.
For those who are not watching, Chance brought his lovey.
Chance brought his... You want to get him a pacifier, honey? Okay.
Hey, sweet baby.
Oh, I don't know why he's usually very happy to be on camera.
He wants mom.
I know.
And he wants...
Not these other ladies, these strange ladies.
No, who are these ladies?
And Jeana, you asked the last question because I want you to...
Anyway, so that was my answer. I would say that I would go back and not spend a decade of my life thinking that I needed to be perfect, because perfection is, again, it's boring.
And limiting.
Yeah, very much so.
First of all, okay, so Sarrah, you and Rachel both have children. My husband and I are currently on our trying to conceive journey. And so I actually, whenever anyone like welcomes a child into a moment, like I'm very grateful that they do that. I'm so grateful that you brought Chance onto the podcast, because I think it's really important for women. I'm not yet 40, but like for women who are maybe like thinking about their lives with kids, to see other women include their kids in their lives. Like, so I just want to say thank you for setting that example for me. Rachel does a good job of this too. I think you and Ruben bring your kids like everywhere, and it's very inspiring for me. So kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. I know. No, I mean, listen, when he's not screaming, he's quite fun. But No, but you want to. You want them to have every experience you get to have. Listen, there are child-free zones. I have a story which I won't waste your time right now telling it, but we brought him as a newborn. We didn't realize it was a Michelin restaurant.
Whoopsie.
Whatever. I'm like, he just sat there. He didn't even make a noise. They were not pleased. But I'm like, listen, he's at a Michelin. It was a 5:30 reservation, you know. Okay. If we knew that, there are some places maybe that your kids can, you know, but we bring him places because I also want to experience life through his eyes. How cool is that? That you want to talk about if you need an ego check, or you're over things, or you think that you guys don't have enough, or you haven't reached a place and where you want to be in your life. Check it out through your kids' eyes, because you're like, wait, you see things for the first time again, and you realize how magical things are. So yeah, I'm bringing them around.
Parenting is a humility roller coaster, and I'm always going down.
You come back up again, though, girl. You do.
There's sometimes. I mean, I'll tell you two really quick things as we're talking about kid stuff. With the Michelin star restaurant, my sister years ago was traveling, and at that time she had a newborn and a toddler, and she was flying from Minnesota to California, and she had this male seatmate, and he gave her a look as she went into those seats, and he goes, "Ugh, I'm allergic to children." I know.
I just gave the camera the finger if you're listening at home. Okay.
I mean, the rudest. So I just feel like people need to understand that kids are part of our world. And of course there are zones where they're not as welcome, but like, let's just be a little bit kind.
Or people understand that they also were kids at one point,
yes.
Because now they're adults.
You were a baby.
And okay. So you're allergic to yourself. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, bro.
We'll never forget, sir.
Jeana knows my daughter Sarrah always says, like, the thing you never expect. Like, I'm always like, and that's where we're going. So this morning, I went to wake her up, and she looked out, like, cute and angelic. And I go, oh, what am I going to do when you go off to college? She goes, oh, what am I going to do when you die? Oh, that's a different conversation than I thought we were about to have.
I love children so much. No, they have no concept of no. Wow.
Yeah, I was like, I think I'm going to be around for a while. She goes, but your memory's not even very good right now. I'm like, that's also true. So
thank you, Sarrah.
Thank you, Sarrah, for fanning the flames of my concerns about dementia.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarrah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarrah.
Yeah, thank you, Sarrah. We have
shout out to
shoe
Sarrah.
liquor and the morbidity aspect, but kids are never dull, never boring, and you're right. You do experience life anew through their eyes.
It's amazing.
Perfection. Boring. Kids, not boring.
No boring. No
boring. Okay, so Sarrah, before we ask you the big, like, where do we find you? What are you up to questions? We want to know if there was anyone in the world that you could connect with. They could be very, very famous, or just someone cute in your neighborhood who you haven't made friends with yet. Who are they? Who's your dream connection?
Y'all had to ask this. This is like that question where you're like, who would you have dinner with? And I'm always like, Beyonce. Done.
Obviously.
So I am a Beyonce super fan. That is not as inspired and intellectual of a
Whatever.
So a famous person, Beyonce.
That's very respectable. I feel like that is the A+ answer.
Thank you. I think it is too. I'm trying to think of someone that's not like a person that we all know. That what about reconnect? Is there a reconnect with, or just brand new?
You can reconnect.
I would like to reconnect with my grandmother. Has passed away. She passed away of Alzheimer's when I was 14, so that was a while ago. And I'd love to reconnect with her, to talk to her about being a mom now, and like get her advice, and also like hear her in her own words kind of talk about me as a mom. Now I'm going to cry again.
You already got me. You said grandma, there I go.
Yeah. So I'd want to connect with her again now if I could, and just like and talk about all of it, and have her sit down and tell stories to her about Chance, although she can see she's there. But yeah, so I think those are my two answers: Beyonce and my dead grandmother.
Sarrah, that's the best combo platter. And I'm also very woo-woo, and I do think that there's a very thin membrane between where we are and where I like to think the spirit energy lives. And so if you need a great medium, I have a referral.
Oh, I was going to ask if you've talked to a medium.
I have. I have, but I talked to her before any of this wild, like 5 years ago. I had a fight with James. We were dating, and something bad happened, and so I called she's a psychic, not a medium, which I think there's a difference.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Her name is Bunny, and she lives in Vegas. Don't ask how I found Bunny. A friend of mine sees
Bunny found you.
Bunny found me. No, I do know how I found Bunny, but she was like, my psychic Bunny can help you with the answer. And so, so I talked to Bunny in Vegas, who I just imagine her sitting like smoking a Virginia Slim at a slot machine, being like, listen, here's what's going to happen. So yeah, I would like to speak with the medium who connects to the other side, and maybe more so than, and Bunny was great. No shade to Bunny, but yeah, please connect me with yours.
Rebecca Rosen.
Great. Wait, I feel like I know her.
Of course you do.
It's very possible.
This makes sense.
Hi, Chance is back.
We're getting
Are
another
you
chance
happy?
at Chance.
Oh, we'll get
Another
more chancing.
Lovey's here and Chance is here. Hi, buddy. So with Chance on your lap, Sarah, give us the rundown. Where can we find you? What are you working on? What's next?
Yeah, guys, thank you. So you can find me. I have my platform on Instagram and on TikTok, and they're both Sarrah Strimel Bentley, Sarah with 2 R's. So please go there. That's where we chronicle all of Chance and I do a weekly series called The Most Chaotic Thing My Toddler Did This Week. It's very exciting. And you can see sort of all of our adventures there. And all of the links there are to my nonprofit website if you want to donate to A Chance for Life. We have our inaugural grant recipients, a couple named Rusty and Christina. They are currently about to match with their 4th surrogate because 3 fell through. So yeah, it's a hard process. So you can find all of that there. I am, as I mentioned previously, finishing my book proposal, and we're shopping it, which is really exciting. It's a memoir called The Art of Joy Mining. It's my journey through breast cancer and how we got Chance here through infertility and surrogacy, and then also with flashbacks of all the crazy adventures I've had, many of which will be in there. So that's, yeah, and just look for me. We're doing a keynote speaking push and on panels, so I'll be around. But yeah, link up with me online, you guys. I would love to meet you and do more connecting.
Let's connect.
Sarah,
Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else we didn't ask you that you for sure want to talk about when it comes to connection? Or Chance, anything you want to add?
Chance, do you have anything important to say? Say mama. Let's try this. Hold on. Ready, guys? You'll be able to hear this. Ready?
Do it.
Hold
You're
on,
taking out
ready?
the notes? Oh.
Say mama. Mama. He usually goes, Dada. And I'm like, no. All right. Anyway. No, guys, you guys, it's such a beautiful interview. Such a pleasure to talk to you both. Thank you for highlighting how important connection is in the world and how important we all are to each other. We're all interconnected, and we couldn't get through this crazy thing called life without each other.
Yes, Sarah,
Thank
you were
you,
lovely,
Sarah.
and I love that we also discovered 1 degree of connection by the time we started this podcast.
We did.
Wait, say the name. Say
Alex.
the names.
Oh, yes, Alex Saul, who's married to Moshe Wanunu, who was also a guest. So I just met Alex. She's going to be my show and tell teaser.
course.
But after being long distance friends for a year, we met, and then lo and behold, she's also your friend.
Yeah, I love her. And she is, you want to talk about connection, she is the master connector in New York City. Like, I was at this event with her on Tuesday, and she's like, you need to know this person. Do you know this person? How about this person? And I was like, Alex. And
Wait, was it the Akashic Records event?
No, it was Bugaboo Strollers. She probably was at 6 events on Tuesday, knowing her. Like, for sure, 100%.
We met, and in the short time that we had lunch, she had another friend, Julie Cohn, come, so I could also meet Julie. She was like maxing out intros. I think she's phenomenal, and sure enough,
right?
Yeah.
She's an ultimate connector, and now we have this gorgeous group of moms who all do incredible things, and we all lift each other up, and we all go support each other when we need it, and those are the people you want in your corner.
yes, that's our connection code in action.
Yay! I love it.
Well, we love you, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Chance.
Say bye. Say bye bye.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye bye. He's like, all right.
I am newly obsessed with Sarah. This is our first interview, if I'm being honest, where we did not have a prior relationship. This was a cold, we are meeting for the first time today, and she was just instantly so authentic and real, and somebody I just want to stay friends with, basically.
Yeah. And when she talked about wanting to meet Beyonce, I would not be cool meeting Beyonce, but I got the feeling that Sarrah could handle it.
I think she could too. And then when she talked about her late grandma, I think I came to tears 3 times during this interview, which
yes.
you called in advance. You said we're probably going to cry. And it doesn't take much. I'm a contagious feeler. So if somebody else is having a big emotional moment, it just lands for me at the same time.
Yep. Why not? Why wouldn't you share feelings? Speaking of sharing feelings, now it's time for show and tell, where we bring something we've discovered in the connection space that we think the other will enjoy. Rachel, what'd you bring?
I mean, I alluded to this before, so it's not a real surprise, but I'm going to borrow a phrase that my friend Danielle uses, which I really like, which is URL to IRL. So Alex and I were basically online friends for a year. She's married to Moshe, who is one of our wonderful interview guests. And Alex and I struck up this funny, like, DM text relationship. And we never even really had like a full-fledged phone call. Like, our communication was usually something digital. And I'm like, this woman's great. Like, she's just really nice. She wanted to introduce me to people. She offered that I could stay in their apartment. Lovely. And then I went to New York for 24 hours this week for work. And we made a lunch date. And it felt like a reunion. It was the best. When you can take a relationship from your phone to in person, I don't know that there's anything better. A real hug, seeing somebody face to face. I just think my show and tell of this is, if there's somebody in your orbit and you can move it from Zoom or email or text to actually connecting in person, I think that is the top of, I'm going to rename the Maslow's hierarchy. If there is a communication hierarchy, face-to-face connection is the very, very best. Nothing replaces
100%.
a hug. Nothing replaces sitting side by side. I feel like we immediately elevated our friendship just by spending like an hour and a half together. So my show and tell is, if there's somebody you really like and you've never met in person, make the plan. Even if it requires a plane ride.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I honestly, I've been watching Alex on the internet ever since we had Moshe on the podcast. So I'm so excited that you guys got to meet in real life.
Yes, yes. I want to hear your show and tell today.
Okay, so I've talked about Amy Poehler's podcast, Good Hang. Love that show. She had Seth Meyers on the show, and they did Weekend Update together. Love that. That was it's a good episode. That's also my cast, because I think the cast on SNL, if you were a fan of SNL, when you're in like middle school, high school, that's your cast, who you really identify with and love. Anyway, Seth Meyers has a podcast with Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island guys, and it is a delightful display of male friendship. They end every episode by saying, "Love you," and they're in that sort of space of teasing each other, of having these inside jokes, of obviously having like things that they have really loved working on together, things that they do in their personal lives, and it is honestly just a delight. If you want to see men stay friends, this is it.
I downloaded that podcast, have yet to listen. Thank you for the reminder. And I think Amy Poehler's Good Hang is just brilliant because it feels like eavesdropping on friendship.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel like, I mean, like they're famous people talking, but it doesn't feel like famous people talking. It feels like friends who just happen to know famous people and have been in movies.
Yes. Accidentally famous. Like, it's not the central thing about the relationship.
Yeah. And then after you listen to the episode with Amy Poehler, go on over to the Lonely Island and Seth Meyers podcast for some, and it's not all boy friendship. It's not all, it's a lot of like comedy and rehashing the fun shorts that they made on SNL. I love it. I love it. Cannot recommend it enough.
You sold me.
Okay, great. Well, this has been an episode of The Connection Code, a podcast about friends, connections, work, and everything in between. This is a production of two friends, Rachel Gilman-Rischel and Jeana Anderson-Cohen. You can follow us on Instagram, connect with us on LinkedIn using our full names, and we would love to hear from you in either of those places. So shoot us a DM, send us a message. Thank you to Ben Cleaver, who edits this podcast, and thank you so much to Sarrah for being our guest today on The Connection Code.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
And I also want to add some thank yous to people who have reached out
Yeah.
because
Oh my God, thank the
commentary
people.
means so much. So thank you, Sam, Audrey, Michelle, Logan. Two of those people happen to be related to me, but nonetheless, I appreciate the encouragement. I'm having a blast with Jeana, but it makes us feel so good to know somebody extracts some value from these conversations.
Oh, then let me add some thank yous. Thank you, Cara. Thank you, Mar. Thank you, Rocio. We loved hearing from you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.